Turning the mics on.
And producer Pete.
Hey ballers, welcome to If These Balls Could Talk, where we talk about the latest in sports, tech, and pop culture. This is Mark along with John and Pete, of course. As a kind reminder, if you like what you hear or see, please hit that subscribe button. Tonight, we welcome back to the podcast Dr. Colin Beech. Good evening, Colin.
Evening. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, looking forward to this.
Hey, Colin.
Hey.
All right. How's everyone been? John, why don't we start with you?
I had to get to my mic button, but I did. I think that was the best I've done it, Pete.
There you go. Nice job.
I think I'm a professional now. Wonderful.
Yes.
Excellent. Done.
Excellent.
Done. Producer John.
Yes.
I'm doing great. To fix our internet problems last night, I just bought more internet. So, we'll see if that works.
When in
I
doubt.
love that
I
solution.
was like, fuck it. More internet. Maximize the internet. Who knows? We're zoomed in a little too, so we'll see if that works. Work was good. Week was good. I'm excited. Colin's here. Very exciting. And I have a beer. So, yeah, we're killing it.
That's something
Fantastic.
I didn't have that last week. I did not have any kind of drink. I didn't have a water. I didn't have any kind of adult beverage. I had such dry mouth after the episode.
Son of a bitch. You were doing it wrong. Stop doing it wrong.
Something's wrong.
Well, I was a little bit late, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we're on. So
And everyone
I had no time.
Everyone, what Mark means by it was a little bit late is that he took a nap until the show started, and I had to wake him up. So,
You'd have to wake me
Oh,
up.
that's why he wasn't on.
yeah.
John had to wake me up. I had fallen asleep.
Show code, bro.
Amazing.
You got to talk about it.
Yeah.
Hey, it had been a while since we had been on, so I wasn't used to the late nights anymore.
That's okay.
I'm an old man. I go to bed at like 7.
I'm also going to be
Oh, no.
I'm going to be a really good IT guy, and I'm going to watch my upload during the show.
Ooh.
Ooh, look at you.
While John's
That's
doing
better
that,
than I
Pete,
ever did.
Pete, how we doing? How's the little one? We have another little special guest.
Producer in training,
Tom,
Liam Steffen.
how are you doing? Say something.
That's so cute. Oh my
He
god.
cooed a little earlier.
Yeah, he's a little Mike shy right now.
Oh my god. Liam's on the show. So excited.
I know.
Totally jealous that Liam has
going
more
as good
hair
as
than me.
as it can be. We're finally finishing up a huge project at work, which is giving me a little sigh of relief. But I'm working on supervising another one in parallel, so we'll see how that goes.
And you said something very apt today for a new dad. You're kind of living every day like it's Groundhog Day. Is it still February 2nd?
I mean, we're not even at February 2nd yet, and it's been that. But it's especially so for Steph. She said, like, especially, her not going back to work yet and her just kind of doing the same thing, especially on days where I'm working in the office, not here, but like actually at work, and one of her parents isn't here, so she's all alone. She's like, it's totally Groundhog Day.
It's totally wild, man. I mean, you really lose track of, and it's right. It's really important to like remember you're a person and like do person things.
Oh yeah.
I love that
That
babies have
is a
no
true
sense
fact.
of time.
No
Oh,
sense.
none at all.
None.
None at all. It's fascinating. You
Yep.
realize what we take for granted.
Yeah, his bedtime is somewhere between 1 and 2:30 in the morning. every
His
night.
bedtime is when he's tired, because time
Yes.
is irrelevant.
Yeah, I don't think we're taking it for granted, Colin. It's irrelevant.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder what freedom really is.
Hey,
It's like, I don't
nice.
care, right? Like, yeah.
All right, let's get to know our guests a little bit better, shall we? But we're gonna change things up a little bit.
Yeah, we're not
though.
doing that at all this week.
Yeah, 'cause
we already know Colin.
Actually, as opposed to some guest questions, what we're going to do, we actually let our special guest Colin pick a topic, and we're going to actually start the show off in a segment that hopefully will be a recurring segment, and we're going to call it "Ball in the Corner Pocket."
Boom, boom, boom. Hey, for all these new segments, Pete, we're gonna need like a segment song.
Little sound bites, right?
Yeah, a little segment song.
Bonus segment.
That's good. I like that.
Maybe we can get Steph to sing a "Ball in the Corner Pocket" little
Okay.
jingle.
Hey, Steph,
Anyway.
can you sing a jingle for Ball in the Corner Pocket?
I didn't mean now.
You're
Can you
such,
sing a jingle that
such a
just has the words
professional.
Ball in the Corner Pocket?
Hey, Steph!
No, Ball in the Corner Pocket.
for everyone, Pete
Jesus.
forgot
It's
this
like-
is
it's
live
like-
I
radio.
guess so. We're good.
So
It's
No,
like
no,
we're
whatever.
living a real life version of the
No.
honeymooners. Well, that's an old reference.
Why don't we-
All
Sorry,
the
I missed
youngins are
it.
going to get that reference.
What was the reference? I
The
missed it.
Honeymooners, when TV was
said the
in
Honeymooners.
black and white.
Oh, yeah.
What were
All right,
what was
so-
the- well, anyway, go on.
So this week's topic we're going to do is the current state of artificial intelligence, or AI. Now, thank you, John, for writing my copy, by the way.
You're very
the
welcome.
The latest annual McKinsey Global Survey on the current state of AI confirms the explosive growth of generative AI tools. Less than a year after many of these tools debuted, this survey revealed that about a third of all people and nearly 1 out of every 4 C-suite executives say they are using generative AI tools for work in some capacity. So, Colin, what are your thoughts on the current state of generative AI, and what do you think is in store for us, both personally and professionally?
It's funny because this has exploded in my own personal life probably over the past 3 weeks because
Ooh.
at my job, I have now been put in charge of looking for the cool futuristic technologies that might change
Really?
how things are done in human services, it's government-based human services. Yeah, and everybody is really, really excited about AI. I actually happen to have sat in a demo today with a major corporation. I'll leave them nameless, but they showed up today and showed us their AI product. And it was really compelling because, you can have a pile of laws sitting on the table that nobody in their right mind would ever want to read. And I've had that job, by the way. Go read the 1,000 pages of laws, right? You don't want to do it. You can just point these things at that and they will absorb it. And you can then ask them questions like, what does it say on page 74? What does it say about albino squirrels, and do they have right to this particular kind of eligibility category, things like that. And it'll just spit answers back at you. And that's where I think it's interesting because, and I hate to sound like an old fuddy-duddy, right, but you got to have some critical thinking. Because I'm sitting here looking at this tool today and I said, okay, so it'll absorb laws. What if I have written down all the policies and procedures in my office? Can it absorb that too? Oh, yes. And I turned to our director and I said, so you know what that means, right? She said, we should give them boats of money right now. It's obviously the best product that ever worked. And I said, yes, but it'll only ever be as good as the documentation that this group has put together. And it just sort of slowly dawned on her, like, oh, that's I'm like, also,
Yeah, it's not thinking for itself.
Follows the rules consistently. Yeah, that's a problem. So it's one of those things where I see the promise. And so the other part of this demo today that was really interesting, and John, I'm gonna a little extra Cody for you, but are folks familiar with what a like a database drawing is, an entity relationship diagram?
I mean, I am.
One?
Like a Venn diagram, yeah.
Well, sort of. It's like a map of data, like a mall kiosk. And it's like here's
okay,
where
yeah.
this part is and where that part is, and it's what the
Okay.
data guy will use to just plan things, but it's very loose. And you can take these AIs now and you can point them at this ERD diagram and say, hey, go ahead and actually build the database for me. Like, create the computer code that will instantiate the database to those dimensions. And this little bot will churn for about 15 seconds. Done. The code's there.
Sorry,
And
I'm just laughing at the cat cameo. that
Tom
just
is
happened.
always
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Tom is omniscient.
And I even said to them, because I had tools back in the day, I said, not only do you do the database, but have you guys ever generated the actual like C# classes from now the SQL structure? And they're like, no. And they tried it live in front of me, and by God, it worked. And they actually left the demo with a new understanding of their product they didn't already have, and how it can get these things structured. So
That's super cool.
again, though, but who built the CRD, right? And did they build it right? And so that's where I'm kind of, I think when I was last on the show talking about AI, I said, listen, these are cute toys. And I still kind of hold the theory that they are very cute toys. And we've always been amused with our toys, thinking they're a lot more significant than they are. But man, having seen this thing in action, I swear to God, I have this itchy, like, I want it, like, because in the, and I'll say this, and then I'll kind of get some feedback too, but it's like in the hands of a novice, it's a godsend because it's content on demand. But that habit of leaning on that without any sort of understanding of what's going on, you're going to get bit real hard and you're going to look real dumb eventually, right? But in the hands of a master who's running a shop where there's repetitive tasks, and they can turn things away from staff maybe who are apprentices kind of need to do some of that stuff, but junior staff who are bored, right? Being able to outsource a lot of this stuff to them and then start cultivating them more in other things. That's the future.
I mean, you were
There's
the
no
first
doubt
one who
about it.
said it to me.
No doubt about it.
I think AI in general, and I agree with you, is it's going to change the task. I mean, the task will not.
Yeah.
The task in 10 years, let's say, will no longer be about creating the content. No matter what content it is, it'll be no longer about creating it. It'll be about kind of sifting it and choosing it. And maybe we're creating a lot more of it, right?
Yeah. Strange example. Have you ever seen an automatic donut maker?
Yep.
They're super impressive. Like in the store shop window, and like it's like a Rube Goldberg machine. Like there's literally little like things that flip the donuts and stuff, and they move on a little conveyor belt. And I mean, it's freaking awesome. It's the same. It's like once you've automated that portion, right now it's all about the frostings and the designs, and like, right, and because you don't have to worry
That's
about
an excellent
just
metaphor.
100 donuts a day, right? We've licked that problem, right? So that and it's like here. And so that's where you have a choice now. And this is where it really gets into like my PhD program, what we were about. Do you move towards human progress for its own sake? And you say like, well, by having the machines do the labor, we can all engage in the liberal arts, right? Which is a very sort of Northeast, kind of says, or we could make a killing in the market, right? And that's one of those things. And so there's an example in my program of technology that's a golem. This is very much a golem in the sense that it's very powerful, and it will run amok in your garden, and it'll do what you tell it to do. Human progress, massive profit. Are the two incommensurable? We don't know. But those are the kinds of questions that we are going to have to start asking us because of the maturity of this technology now.
And the speed of it,
Do you
too,
feel
right?
as a society we care about those questions?
Some of us, it's a spectrum. Some of us care very deeply about one part of that question. Some of us care very deeply about the other. And a much larger portion of us don't really think about it at all. Which is probably of the three positions, probably the most dangerous one. Right?
And then, in this 10-year future that I like to talk about, and OpenAI has licked reasoning, and now we're doing really complex pattern solving through ingesting tons and tons of data. But we're also like a little good at problem solving, and we've figured out how to do this failure-based problem solving that we've talked about on the show before. How much does AI get? Like how many tasks does it get if it's good at solving problems and solving patterns?
It's an interesting question. When I think about the question, I always go back to. Have I told you about the Chinese room?
I want you to.
I
don't remember, but you should say it on the show anyway, in case anybody's listening.
I use this example a lot. I think some people roll their eyes like, "Oh my God, the Chinese room again." But it's a great example. So your job is this. Back in the day we had Photomat when you want to develop your pictures, right? So imagine a Photomat-like little structure in a parking lot, and there's a guy sitting in there with a big binder. The binder is thousands of pages, and there's a column A, and with that a Mandarin Chinese character in column A, and then column B another corresponding Mandarin Chinese character. And in the morning, a whole bunch of sheets come in the door with these symbols, and the job of the guy is to take the sheets that come in, match them into column A, and then he goes into a bucket and pulls out the corresponding column B, shoves that out the door in the outbox. That's his job, right? And he's very good at it. And over the years, he can do 1,200 of these a day. When he started, it was only 300. So objectively, he's 400% more productive. Does he speak Chinese?
Right. Does he speak Chinese?
Not at all. Right? Can't problem solve. And I think it's funny because as I think about this, and I'm trying to answer your question with this ruminating kind of winding road. Watching football, as one does on Sunday, I've noticed this recurring ad where it's about AI and analytics, and it shows that the quarterback is dropping back and like heaving the ball, right? And it's this elegant, stunning image of the ball traveling through the air with the equations dripping off it, right? Have we seen that?
That's amazing, by the way.
It's it is amazing, and I get so stoked looking at it. But it's like, what is the product there? What are you really selling? And I think, this idea of the we've defined all these different domains mathematically, and we've defined all these different ways to work things like this, you know. And when I look back at in my thesis with the atomic bomb, it was modeling neutrons in the middle of an exploding core. It can be modeling Moneyball in baseball, right? It's like these models we construct. You know, with pre-generative AI, it's neural network encoding. All of these are different kind of stripes of formalism, but at the end of the day, it's just getting really good at solving a whole bunch of puzzle pieces that are on the table, and that's incredible. But you know, if you aren't someone who knows how to put pieces on the table or take away those that don't belong, you're never going to get anywhere. And that's, I think, the edge of what these things can do, and that's going to be a very different problem. And I bring this up because a lot of people I deal with assume that those problems are being solved by these technologies. They're not, right? It's really good with the puzzle pieces. It's really good. So for another example, it's really good at playing chess where it can see all the pieces. It can't play poker worth a damn.
Right.
Because it doesn't know what information isn't missing. So that was roundabout, John. Sorry.
Colin, my 2 cents about that, going back to the advertisement that you saw with the the swirling ball and them showing a bunch of equations. You know what I really think that is for? That's for the people that know that AI is a thing and they don't necessarily understand it, but they kind of want to hop on that bandwagon, and that's kind of a nice shiny thing to look at. It's like, oh, that's right. Even the rotation of a football, there's certain numbers and data associated with that. So that kind of is like, oh, well, yeah, they're drawn to that because they know football. They kind of know that AI is something that they probably need to hop on board with. Oh, it's a nice shiny object. I think it's just an attention grabber. It's not really meant to do anything other than that. Personally, that's my opinion.
I think you're right. And you know, the other ad that I see the football with the numbers dripping off it and the equations, and the next one I see is little Kevin Hart telling me all about DraftKings, right? And I am naturally led to like, you know, if I had an AI that could tell me how to gamble, that might be worth something.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, you're crazy if you don't think these bookies are using this, but I don't think that that would be a great question for me. It's for the reason
I think that leads us to the second part of this conversation.
From? Yeah, exactly.
Because we are at time on the first part. We do have a segue. It's a perfect segue to Pete's question if he has it up.
I don't.
Which I also wrote.
I know. Thank you, John. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I'm very slacking now.
That's okay.
John
you have an
become our
excuse.
lead writer.
I'll be back.
I
to
like
normal
that.
soon,
I think I'll put that
promise.
on the website. I like that. Put it on my link. Put it on my LinkedIn. My mom calls LinkedIn Linky Dink. I don't like that at all. But old people are weird.
Linky Dink? What is that?
Old people are weird. Yeah.
Put that on your cover.
Now I need to do a new segue.
See, every time we feel old, our parents just do something that just makes us feel young again.
Yeah.
Linky
It's
Dink.
almost
That is funny.
All right. Let's not get
It's
too
almost as if they
distracted. The
need
segue
to,
is fading.
Right. Okay. Well, see, now I need to make a new one. It's like with these parents, they need to evolve. And speaking of evolving, as AI continues to evolve, there's a growing need to address some ethical concerns surrounding its use. Some of the ethical issues include bias, privacy, and transparency, which, yeah, there's a lot of talk about that. I mean, think about the actors' strike, for instance. That was a big thing about that. How do we as a society effectively manage the ethics of AI? Like, who writes the rules? How are they enforced? Who gets to say what that even is?
I mean, there needs to be somebody that governs it, right?
You should definitely answer it because it's your segment.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's not the first time we've encountered a problem like this. And there's, you know, I'm really selling my program tonight, but there's a political scientist I studied with named Ned Woodhouse. I think he's still in the area here. And he always advocated for, with any of these technologies, I think it's Ned, he'll kill me if I'm wrong, but something called the precautionary principle. Where, you know, GMOs, for example, we've been, you know, hey, we're going to monkey with the genetics of the food that we eat. What could go wrong? Well, right? And the precautionary principle would state, like, maybe start small, contained areas. Again, there's the question of what do we want to achieve here? Is this to feed hungry people who don't have access? So, for example, we're going to create crops that are more drought resistant, right, to feed third world countries, or is this Monsanto leveraging
Or both.
over leveraging a product base, right? Or both, right? 'Cause everybody wins. So I think in this case, right, with things like AI, or what does everybody point to, right? The Terminator scenario, right? It's going to kill us with nuclear fire against our will, right? Well, yeah, we should probably put some guardrails around it. We think we all agree on that, but then it comes down, well, who is going to put that in place? The government? And you think, like, if the government puts laws on the books, are people going to follow them? There's a lot. I was poking around the dark web this week because I'm constantly interested in that kind of thing, and the dark web's always reinventing itself. And sure enough, the dark web's all about selling you cocaine, right? The cocaine you want, and it's like I point to that as a regulatory problem, right? So the government's
Colin, do you have hidden
AI,
Bitcoin to buy things on the dark web that I didn't know about?
No, but I have been a Bitcoin bagman.
Officially, no.
Nice.
I'll tell you that story another time.
Nice.
That's my cyberpunk.
They're listening.
Interesting.
But so then, to answer your question, Pete, if it's not the government, who wields the power in our society right now?
Yeah, like what is it? Some circle around a fire and be like, we should probably set these limitations.
I would argue that IBM is probably as powerful as a lot of congressmen, if not more so.
And let's put the whole AI industry right now in perspective. OpenAI is a $3 billion company, and Microsoft has given them all their bags. Right? They have said OpenAI now. ChatGPT lives in Windows. ChatGPT is going to live in Office. It's going to live in literally every part of your life because they're like, this is the future, and we are on board. One of my favorite, probably number 2 or number 3, Mr. Sam Altman. Yeah. But I mean,
even
right?
the new Samsung S24 is just like AI.
If all these major companies with major amounts of money are the ones that are guiding the ship, I think that's probably problematic.
Right.
Well, right, of course, because they're doing it with their own self-interest in mind, right? That's
well. So
conflict of interest.
I went from government to the corporation, who I say is maybe more powerful than the government. And so now I'm going to come to a really weird today I had to sit through my union presentation, and I'm actually very excited to report, like, I'm now a member of a union.
Rock and roll, man. Congratulations.
And thank you. Our union has said one of our major items of concern for this coming year is job loss of union members to AI.
Interesting. That's a good one.
This group, suddenly now you have a collective bargaining organization. I never in a million years would have thought the unions are going to come storming in to save us from Skynet, right? But if anybody has proven power to thwart the goals of a corporation, the unions have a rich and interesting history. So you're going to start to see all these weird, like, checks and balances in our culture, I think.
Well, and now there's already some sort of legal precedent, right?
I'm watching it as much as everybody else. How so?
Well, the actors union and the writers union in California, sure, in a kind of a specific circumstance, but the actors union and the writers union have gotten collective bargaining agreements passed that are based around not losing work to AI-generated scripts or AI-generated actors, which makes it kind of the same for everybody. Any lawyer worth a salt could argue that.
Right. And now come full circle to being the 22-year-old kid who really just doesn't want to sit there and run UAT test scripts all day. But that's his job because the union saved it. And, that's when you see there's a lot of factors at play here. So,
well, as just a matter of course currently, my state agency, based on the guidance from Colin's state agency, has blocked the use of ChatGPT on state computers. And I think that they're not doing it because they don't want to use it or they don't trust it. They're doing it because they don't know what they want to do with it yet. And an interesting circumstance, I work service desk at my state agency, and I had a number of people be like, "Hey, ChatGPT is blocked." And I'm like, yeah, it is. They're like, yeah, but I've been doing work on it. Okay, you can start programming. Not anymore. You can start doing your own programming or your own copywriting because I understand what you were doing on it. You don't have to tell me. I can read between the lines, but maybe you should just do your own job.
Yeah.
And who's in charge of determining what you can use ChatGPT for the state, though?
That is a very
Like,
good. That is a very good question.
That seems very fishy to me. That their answer to blocking ChatGPT is they don't know what they want to use it for.
I mean, that's
That
me
does
reading
not-
between the state
One does
lines.
not sound like it leads to the other.
I mean, they're saying it's a security thing, but it's not really. And there is a portion of it that is trying to understand where the data lies. Like if you're a major company, right, and you start doing a lot of your announcements and a lot of your things through something like ChatGPT, you're putting a lot of your proprietary data in some cloud server somewhere. And most companies that I have been in the IT departments for don't like that at all. That's a big no-no. So that's one of the things too. They're going to have to figure out how to make a version that has like an on-site appliance that companies can manage, or it's never going to get off the ground for industry.
I think it's interesting too that if an organization says, you know what, we're not sure what's going to happen here, let's stop and have a think. Some people go crazy. They can't stand the idea of things coming to a halt, and I think that's part of the business mentality of time being money. But it reminds me of that
just
story.
change. Everyone's afraid of change.
Do you remember the story though? The father and the son bull. They're standing at the top of the hill, and all the cows are down below in the valley. You ever heard this one? And the son looks at his dad and says, if we run down there real quick, I bet we can fuck one of those cows. And the father turns. The father.
Is this really where we've gone?
Well,
Yep.
And the father says, "Whoa! Let's walk down and fuck them all."
Can we
I
edit this
see
part
the
out?
logic, but
Good things come from taking a moment to
What a
think
great
about
segue to the
problem.
next topic.
Well, you know what? You fucked it all up because the segue was literally right there. I threw the segue ball up again, and I'm just going to pretend that Colin's metaphor didn't happen, even though it was hilarious. And so talking about how AI impacts the workplace, like we said, AI is expected to have a significant impact on the future of work. And while AI has the potential to automate many tasks, it also has the potential to create new jobs and even transform or erase existing ones. And so how do you envision the workforce changing, and what do we as workers need to do to stay relevant and even employed?
I think you have to have organizations that are committed to tasking people with jobs that they actually want to do, and also, opportunities where you find it. I don't think AI alone is going to transform the labor marketplace to the extent of, 33% of people will now suddenly be out of work. Bullshit. It's not that AI put them out of work. It's that, other market forces maybe came along. And I'd be interested to pick Pete's brain because, I would think digital visual arts is probably got major components of it that are labor intensive. And I know I've seen a lot, and I don't know about it, but I know the AI community has done a lot of visual, illustration generation and things like that. If you had a team of, and I have no idea about how your world works, Pete, but if I've got 8 artists and a new AI is released such that I now have those 8 artists can do the work of 12 artists in the same amount of time, do you fire artists or do you up the quality of your product to now account for the new catalyst? And see, that's the boss's marketing decision as opposed to AI change, right? I'm curious what you think.
I could say the short answer to that is the quality and expectation and standard just seems to keep going up and up and up. I mean, and that's been the same way well before AI, right? You get a whole new rendering engine that can do better things, and it's like, oh, it can do Toy Story 1 faster, and but we're making Toy Story 2. It's going to look way better, Every decade, right? The expectation of the audience, or every time you have a breakthrough movie like Jurassic Park or Lord of the Rings, right?
Avatar.
I was going to say Avatar.
Right? Everybody expects now every movie to look like that or better. So how do you wow them again? So in that sense, it's kind of just been a constant race. Now we get better tools all the time. The software I use, it's no secret. Nuke is what most of the industry uses for compositing. And, every time it has updates, it gets better. There are new features, and lo and behold, the subject we're talking about, there's beginning to be more and more AI generative tool sets in there.
Well, Adobe is also all in.
Yes, they are. And for
All
certain
in.
things, they work really well. For concept art and for coming up with some quick ideas, some resources for, at the very least, the brainstorming sessions or early versions of stuff. Sure, it works great. I'll tell you, man, I tried to do I was so excited. It was like this AI generative Z depth pass on a 2D shot. I'm like, oh man, I'm going to be able to separate everything depth wise in the shot and be able to do this. Yeah, it didn't work so well. I mean, it tried, but it just doesn't. It's not there yet. And rotoscoping, right? That's what takes the most time, right? You're tracing people. We're on a project right now where, when you get that final 5%, it's where the client's like, this looks great, but I see some like a little bit of wobbling here on this edge. The AI is not at a part where it can fix that because it doesn't quite know what to do, especially when it's really tough and all the pixels are the same on either side of that. Like you have brown hair in front of a brown muddy road that looks identical and the guy's turning like this. The artist can figure out and actually pick out and animate all those strands of hair that are turning with rotational parallax. The computer can't fucking come close to doing that.
Generative fill, in my experience, and I'm not an artist, but I am a computer guy. Generative fill right now is pretty kludgy. It doesn't work great.
And that's on still frames. Try doing that on 24 frames a second.
Right,
on an
exactly.
8K.
Right. Now,
8K resolution, $1 million camera lens.
We all are
picture.
old enough to remember when computers were kludgy and big and slow and stupid. I mean, and now we have these supercomputers comparatively that fit in our pockets that do literally our whole lives. Like I can live without my phone. And so I like to take these burgeoning technologies with a light of that where it's not good now, but what happens when it will be good? And we already know it's funded, so it will be good one day, right?
It'll get there. Right?
It'll all
we
get there.
We still have a ways to go.
And so,
there's.
God.
As I say, there's an interesting trap at play here, though, and there's a book I really love I read called More Work for Mother by Ruth Cohen, and she looks at the lives of housewives in Brooklyn, I think, in the 20s and 30s. And other areas where women would get together in the mornings and they would all do laundry laboriously with these wash basins with the washboards, right? It's, terrible, horrible, grueling work. But they would sit around and they would chat and they talk about their families and, little Johnny's got this problem and, oh, you should try this, that, and the other, right? And eventually come the technologies of the 40s and the post-war boom, the 50s especially, right? Electrolux, Hoover, General Electric, all these technologies that, are going to save you time. And the effect was interesting because whereas they were spending 5 hours a day on these tasks and they were with their other community members, eventually they withdrew into their suburban shells where they're becoming increasingly isolated. And now with all this new technology, the quality factor goes through the roof. And so even though you've got blenders, washing machines, vacuums, and all that, the actual work time, more work for mother, the workday stretches from 5 to 8, 9, 10 hours, right? As we introduce these technologies. And so, getting back to Pete's problem of, right, the nightmare client who can now have this insatiable demand for incredibly high quality, knowing that these tools are available, and you end up burning out your staff even more. And again, it's what's the point of technology but to save work? For what?
Right.
Profit or more leisure time? And then, that's a conscious decision somebody needs to make.
Yeah.
That's a good landing
exactly
point.
Right.
I think so.
I mean, we're at time, and you just totally.
Hope this is working.
That worked. I couldn't have ended it better. That was great.
I feel more smarter.
More smarter?
Anyway.
More smarter. Yeah.
Let's just talk about sports.
All right, gentlemen, are we ready to kick off? Are we ready to kick off this shindig?
Hell yeah.
We are.
I got a first topic.
You do?
That doesn't work unless you see Mark's face, though. On the audio podcast, we apologize.
It's really funny. You should watch it on YouTube after the fact.
You should.
So there were lots of newsworthy events from this weekend's NFL's Super Wild Card Weekend.
Super!
Top seeds. With only the top seeds of each conference getting a bye, there were 6 total games spanning 3 days, including one that got moved to Monday due to snow.
It was so fucking exciting.
Now, the nation witnessed the normal playoff collapse of the Dallas Cowboys, combined with the rise of Aaron Rodgers' pantomime, Jordan Love, the total demise of the Philadelphia Eagles, and somehow without head coach Sirianni crying on the sidelines. The Dolphins never defrosting to start the game in the frigid Kansas City weather. And, of course, Josh Allen doing his best combined Flash and Hulk superhero impersonation. So, everyone, what did we learn from the NFL Super Wild Card Weekend?
Andy Reid's mustache is disgusting.
Yes, I definitely learned that.
My mother-in-law
So
was
much
obsessed.
moisture.
My mother-in-law and Noelle were obsessed with staring at it. They're like, "Oh, it's disgusting. It's terrible. Why do they keep showing it?"
It just the snotsicles just kept growing throughout the game. Every quarter it's bigger.
Momentum matters, and the Texans look great.
Texas
do.
looks pretty good. That
They're starting to get healthy
formidable
again.
defense.
Great. Their defense is great. And Nico Collins, did you see, guys? Did you see Nico Collins, who was running far and fast? And he just knew he was looking over the wrong shoulder. He just knew to look over the other one. He just sensed the ball was coming, and he caught it. It's like a 90-yard touchdown pass. And that's called chemistry. Those two guys are close in age, and they are playing like magic together right now. And I love
They're
watching.
going to be a threat for a long time.
I love watching them because the whole team, they talk about how Green Bay is the youngest team in football. I think the Texans are probably the second youngest team in football.
I mean, at least for the significant players, yeah.
Well,
your skill positions, right? Your star players are all very new.
Well, I think the number one thing, too, is coaching definitely matters, right?
Sure.
You had the two probably most formidable defenses in the Super Wildcard weekend being the Cleveland Browns and the Dallas Cowboys, and neither of them showed up last week.
Browns got slapped around,
Neither
and I
of
was
them did.
just talking to Pete before that game about how the Browns were going to win because their defense was better, and how impressive their defense looked in Week 18 and Week 17, really impressive.
I thought so, too. But I also underestimated, though, that Texans getting healthy as quickly as they did because they were pretty banged up.
Texans did get healthy
just a
with
few
the
weeks
exception
ago.
of Tank Dell.
Tank Dell's still
poor
dead,
Tank Dell.
but Devin Singletary's playing great, and Damian Pierce is healthy. Them with Damian Pierce healthy are really impressive.
Their defense is up and coming.
What
too.
else did I learn? I learned that Matt Stafford is a pretty stand-up guy and talked to all his old friends, even when they beat him. Even except for the one
great.
guy who busted Tyler Higbee's MCL, which he called him out because it was a dirty hit. I learned that Mark is really good at football and called on week 2 that the Eagles and the Cowboys and the Dolphins were full of shit. So that's kind of impressive.
Damn. Yeah. By the way, speaking of this, and we'll probably talk about this even closer to the end of the season. We got to go revisit some of our hot takes from the beginning of the year, where we all did our divisions.
By the way, breaking news. Breaking news. Mike McCarthy is not getting fired from.
I saw that today.
Cowboys. That came out.
I
today.
did hear that. Yeah.
That came out today.
So we did learn that too.
Jerry
I mean,
Jones is sticking.
If
with
Mike McCarthy
good
gets
old Mike.
fired, then Jerry Jones has to say he was wrong, and Jerry Jones doesn't say he was wrong.
Yeah.
What did you think about the weekend, Colin?
Obviously, I'm very excited about my Bills. I can't believe coming into this season that we would have ended up number 2 seeded. I'm kind of interested to see. I heard it told that Kansas City and Mahomes have never had to travel before.
This is his first playoff road game, which is
that's
kind of
correct.
unbelievable.
I kind of hope it
unbelievable.
really psychologically just unnerves him.
I hope
really
it's
do.
so cold. I just hope it's so cold.
Yeah.
I don't know if the cold is going to bother him.
I hope it snows again. I just hope it's
Uncomfortable.
really uncomfortable because the
Welcome-
Bills don't give a
welcome
shit.
Here's something interesting. Sorry, go ahead, Colin.
No, I was gonna say, welcome to hell frozen over.
Yeah.
No.
It was colder in Kansas City than it was in Buffalo.
So about that, another thing I learned in the playoffs, unlike the formerly Rich Stadium, whatever it is now, Highmark Stadium in Buffalo, which is a gajillion years old and slated to be demolished because it's practically condemned. Most modern stadiums, regardless of how cold it is, have heated fields. The temperature down there on the field at KC on most parts of the field was a balmy 40 degrees that the ground was.
It did not look like
Except
it.
for one
Air
part.
wasn't.
Well, there was one part of it that wasn't, and they kept talking about it. They're like, oh, there's one quadrant near the end zone is completely frozen, so players might slip. And they never did, but it was kind of thought in the back of my head the whole time. So and plus, the Bills field is turf. It's I don't know.
It's
We'll see.
also, Pete, our first contact with the monster that is the Kelsey Taylor Swift hype machine.
Oh, do you think Taylor Swift is coming to Buffalo?
Absolutely.
I hope so. And I hope that chicken wings their burner asshole.
By the way, Pete, your wife has told me she's actually bailing on you this weekend and going to Buffalo.
Did you guys see?
That's fair.
She wants to meet Taylor.
Mark,
on their
that's right. I forgot you're a Tay. Yeah.
on their podcast, New Heights, not a sponsor. Hey, Kelsey Brothers.
The Kelsey brothers.
Hey, Kelsey brothers. Pot swap. Who wants to do a pot swap?
You saw Travis's hands were all bruised and blistered from being frozen, and he had all his gear on and stuff. But still, like his hands were really they were uncomfortable.
That was
looking.
really cold out there.
There's no equipment that exists that can really protect you from that cold.
Right.
Like, being out there for essentially 3 hours.
Yeah, even though the field was warm, it doesn't mean the air there is not ridiculously cold.
Do you see?
I gotta ask because I haven't had a chance to ask any other guys about this. So do you think Kelsey's distracted, and do you think the whole thing's a distraction for the team?
I don't.
Because he was dropping passes, but his hands were also screwed.
Yeah, I think that's just a combination of the weather, and I think we're slowly seeing the end of his prime. Like he's in his twilight years now in his career. His brother just retired.
I think it has more to actually that also came out today. That is not official.
It isn't? Oh, I thought it was. I'm sorry.
That's according to my Echo, so I don't really know if that's real or not. But anyway, no, I don't think that has been a distraction. I think it's because the Chiefs don't really have a lot of highly skilled, dangerous skill players. Essentially a lot of the defense has now just been concentrating on like double teaming Kelsey. And one else.
There's nobody else on the team.
They've been blanketing him.
Yeah.
I mean, Rashee Rice is
probably also came from how cold it was.
Rashee Rice is playing well, but Rashee Rice isn't Travis Kelsey, and he's not Stephon Diggs, and he's not a 1A plus. He's not that guy.
Not yet.
But he's showing some promise though.
He's good because Patrick Mahomes is still a magician.
I mean, Pat's still the best QB in the league.
Still a magician.
I'm saying he's going to be I'm not saying he's Justin Jefferson, but he's going to be a Tyreek Hill next year.
And I'm just saying.
Does he run a 4.240?
Pat is a little tired of MVS and Kadarius Toney dropping passes.
Wouldn't you be?
Yeah. I will say though, while Mahomes, I think overall, historically is probably still the best QB in the league. He's not having his best season.
Because he has no skill players.
Allen is getting hot at just the right time, and that's why I'm so excited for this game coming up.
Momentum is huge, right?
Yeah.
We've said John and I have said this for years. Momentum is huge.
Mm-hmm. And so guys,
not just football, pretty much any sport.
We're going to talk about this a little more, but I'm going to need a next topic because we are at time.
Oh yeah, hold on. I had some ideas for that. I need your clothes, your boots, and your next topic.
Yes!
So we're talking about Skynet, AI, all that stuff.
Yes.
I got a whole arsenal.
I'm actually really proud of you guys that you didn't take one question and ruin two of mine. So we're going to talk about the Bills. In something out of a Buffalo Bills fan fiction. Amongst actual feet of snow, Josh Allen led his team to a dominant 31-17 victory on Monday over the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Bills are used to the divisional round, losing it in the last 2 years, but this feels different. At least to me it does. I hope it does to you guys. Before the Snow Bowl, which I'm lovingly calling it, this past weekend, 18 inches of snow had to be cleared off Highmark Stadium, and I'm sure everyone who has a sportscast knew fans came from far and wide and worked until 4 a.m. and even later, honestly, for $20 an hour and a sandwich. The game itself had snow being thrown in the air in celebration when Josh rumbled in from 52 yards out for a touchdown. And I like to say, like a centaur. Hi, Lisa. That was a great metaphor.
Shout out to Lisa.
So everyone, but mostly Pete and Colin, what do you think about the Bills' chances this year? And Pete, tell everyone what you really feel about the media's biased coverage of Josh Allen. Also, did we know that he's also dating a multi-threat talent in Haley Steinfeld? Because I just learned that.
Yeah, that was been a secret, hasn't it?
He did. That was a little controversial though towards the beginning of the season. Oh, I don't think he was dating her yet, but rumors and swirlings and drama about why his relationship with his high school sweetheart ending earlier in the season was yet another distraction, which may have also contributed to things happening at the end of last season and why Diggs was all up in his grill. Or
Up
on
in his
case
grill.
at the end of the disastrous playoff loss to the Bengals. But that's all hearsay. I don't want to put anything.
Yes. What are our thoughts about this weekend?
Anyway.
It's funny because you asked me the question and I immediately get really stressed because I
you're a
go
Bills
back.
fan.
They
Yeah,
gotta
I go
win this
back to
one.
my youth and like what happened from 90 to 93, 4 in a row. And every time I think like, oh God, we've got this locked down, right? It just like falls through, So I'll tell you this, like I said, the first 4 games of this season, I walked away from those first 4 thinking, it's probably not going to be this year. I just from the look of things, yeah, that Bengals loss, Miami, yeah. But
It's been a weird
having
season.
It's been a very weird season. But the
Yeah.
last 4 weeks, oh my God, it's like, who is this House Atreides? Why are they so difficult all of a sudden? It's like it's like they're coming up
Because
my team,
they're
right?
running
That's
the
what
ball.
It's like watching Josh Allen, right? And the running,
Yeah. Yeah, they've added that dimension.
They decided
and
not
I
to
got-
run 4 verticals every play.
And I got to explain to my
knew?
wife the difference, like what the running back does versus the fullback, versus the QB sneak. And,
Sure.
it's like, oh, we're firing on all these cylinders. It's like a clinic, it's
Right.
great.
And they can
I
still
actually-
do those deep routes and everything like that, which they still sprinkle in. It's just way more varied, and it actually attacks defenses' weaknesses now. Who knew what a difference an offensive
Yeah.
coordinator change can
Also,
make?
Dalton Kincaid.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
we knew the talent was there, but he wasn't getting used in the first half of the season. Not like recently.
It seems like something has gelled. And, to answer Mark's question, I looked at Noel this past weekend and I said, I do believe you're seeing peak Buffalo Bills football.
Yeah.
I'm not, yeah, it hasn't felt like this till going back to like when we had Thurman Thomas and Andre Reed.
Even
and
their
Ken Kelly
tush
and
push was
Salty Old
impressive.
Marv.
Yeah.
The tush push.
Right.
tush
that's,
push.
That's the other thing. They're inventing new things, like play styles. Yeah, it's really
The
exciting.
impressive
Yeah,
part
they're
about
catching on.
that run was that Josh Allen was sideways on top of an offensive lineman's back, and then one of the backfield guys, maybe one of the running backs, kept him up there while the guy was pushing forward. It was amazing. It was an amazing
Yeah, they were
play.
like, hold on, this isn't going to work. Hold on, Josh, we're going to rotate you on top of this guy. Okay, now we're good. Now
Yeah.
fall forward. Okay.
At what point is it this rolling scrum of crowd surfing a guy across the top?
Scrum
right?
is a good
It's-
word for it. It was a rugby
Yeah.
scrum.
Yeah, it'll be it's. It's
Well, I mean,
incredible
you look at how
it's
successful.
evolving.
Yeah, no, I mean, Philly was all the big news about it in the beginning of the season, and then they started their epic collapse, and then everybody started catching on like, oh, Buffalo's doing it slightly differently, but the same idea, right? Just a little bit different technique. So now, yeah, are they gonna have to enforce that differently? Is there gonna be a rule against that kind of stuff? Will they blow the whistle if forward progress is stopped sooner?
I need a name for it more hilarious than the brotherly shove from you Buffalo folks.
Well, so Deion Dawkins is their left tackle, right? And he's the lead blocker because they usually do it to the left. So it's been called the bobsled because you got the guy behind.
I've heard the bobsled.
Yep,
That's
you got
really
the guy
good.
behind literally shoving Josh's
Multiple
ass
people.
forward. Yep. Yeah. And
Like they're in a bobsled.
exactly. It looks like the bobsled formation. And then the other one is snowplow because Deion Dawkins has a whole thing with like, you don't know snow or something. I don't know. It's a Buffalo thing.
It's a bobsled. It's definitely a bobsled.
Yeah.
That's really
So
good.
I've heard snowplow and bobsled.
So we're not going to talk
John,
about it too loud, but how are we going to do against KC with most of your first string offense injured in that game last week?
Defense, you mean?
Ah, yes.
The offense is pretty healthy.
Mark
but-
knew what I meant.
I know.
yes. Not good. It's
Guys, I don't have a very good feeling about this for the Bills. I'm sorry. I don't.
yeah, there's a lot of people
but
hurt.
it could be the cooler in me talking right now.
No, it's a valid concern with how many people went down. It will look better if they can get at least 2 of their starters back in there. Then it won't be that bad. but that needs to happen.
You're never going to beat them on paper. I think the hope is to unnerve them enough and get them off balance enough that you can capitalize on that, hopefully. And then also the offense just needs to go ballistic.
Yeah, I actually give Bill's offense advantage over KC's right now.
I agree.
They seem to have their play calling together and their overall talent a little bit higher. Although Pacheco looks dangerous.
I think it's all dependent on the running game. I think whoever has a better running game is probably going to win on Sunday.
That's why I hope it's just so cold, just so uncomfortable. Maybe snowing during the game. That always works out.
Cook versus Pacheco.
Do we know what the weather forecast is for that game?
Actually looking it up right now.
I mean, they've had...
Where's the research department we need?
I know. They've had lake effect storms in the area since the game even. Like, they've been buried.
By the way, we didn't really talk about this. John, when you mentioned about how they hired all these people from Buffalo to shovel out the snow, did you actually see they didn't shovel out the visitor section of the stadium?
Amazing.
Oh.
I thought that was so. Steelers fans had to try to maneuver their way through the snow.
I watched a couple
hilarious.
Steelers fans literally trudging a path through it. It was funny.
McAfee
But I
showed
mean,
it.
there were some Bills fans that had to do the same thing, but they had fun with it anyway. Every time they scored, I loved the snow flying up. John mentioned it in his intro. So magical.
20 degrees Fahrenheit, 50% chance snow shower.
Hell yeah.
50%.
Bring it on.
Okay.
And
That sounds
we're
like
at
playoffs
time.
in Buffalo.
Well, somebody thought it would be a good
right.
week to put a good idea to put an extra week in the football season. So here we are in January.
Right.
Who's got the next topic?
No. You got to listen to the way people talk. You don't say affirmative or some shit like that. You say no problemo. And if someone comes on to you with an attitude, you say eat me. And if you want to shine on them, it's next topic, baby. Next topic, baby. Sorry, I got a whole list of these.
Pete, you just keep going, buddy. This is great. Pete, your folder, by the way, your next topic folder is so much bigger than everyone else's because you're so good at it.
Why,
All right,
thank you.
everyone, we're going to talk about something that a sport that we don't normally talk about, but I'm going to have a nice twist on it. So the Australian Open kicked off this weekend down in Melbourne, and while it's known for being the first tennis major of the year, it's starting to gain infamy for replacing bleachers at one of its courts with a courtside bar, appropriately named the Courtside Bar. Now, this isn't new to other sports that have bars right next to the field of play, but tennis normally has the judges call for silence right before each point. There are mixed reactions to the bar that actually has a DJ playing music as well. So the Tsitsipas brothers, God, I hope I said that right, including last year's runner-up Stefanos, are not fans of the additional noise, but others are excited for something that can attract more fans.
Can you say that together? First name, last name, just for the alliteration.
Stefanos Tsitsipas.
Amazing.
Wow.
That was really good.
I haven't had one scotch yet, so I think
Did
I'm
you
okay with
practice that?
Kind of. So everyone, what are our thoughts on the courtside bar at the Australian Open?
This reminds
By the way,
me
has anyone played tennis on this podcast?
not in a long time.
Marquez.
Not professionally.
But you've watched tennis, I'm guessing, at some point.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's normally a quiet sport.
We played it in summer camp. You had to take classes in it. So I've played tons of it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, tournament
Yeah,
tennis is
and
very
yeah.
formal.
And we had a camp tournament, and God help you could hear a pin drop. You know?
Now,
Yeah.
I guess my first thought is that in 2024, what is the place for button down, quiet please, fancy English British sports? What is the place of that in 2024? And really the idea that maybe tennis and less golf now because golf is
Tennis and golf.
but
Well, yeah.
maybe it's become a little bit too stodgy for a 20-something. Right? And then just from a marketing perspective, you have to think about, well, what's going to keep people coming because all the people who used to like stodgy sports are getting old and they don't go anywhere anymore.
It kind of reminds me of the scene in Happy Gilmore where he
Where he's
goes up to the tee and everybody's all quiet. Yeah, and he just come on, what the hell? Why is it so quiet? Let's go.
I'll say this, so noise can eventually become white noise, right? You hear it, but you don't really recognize it. It's really the fluctuation of noises that kind of bothers like tennis players and golfers. Like in Happy Gilmore, yeah, that's fine. Like everyone was cheering loudly and whatnot, but it was kind of at the same level the entire time.
Yeah.
As long as no one, what was that golf tournament, John? I forget. We brought this up last season that someone just randomly yelled out while someone like hit their tee shot, and it's because he had some money placed on the tournament as well.
Specific for a nefarious purpose.
Yeah,
specifically. Okay.
Like those are the noises that really bother. It's the fluctuation of noise that kind of bothers professional athletes when you're especially when you're not used to it. Like there'd be nothing. I don't think there'd be anything wrong having a courtside bar at a tennis tournament, but the music that the DJ is playing, and I don't know what kind of music it is. I'm assuming it's going to be kind of upbeat kind of stuff, and it's not like a 4-piece string quartet or something like that.
Steel drum calypso, yeah.
And would that just be like for between, right?
No,
between sets, or is it during play?
While the match is going on?
Oh, that's a little weird.
Yeah.
Well, you can't
if it's a song that like somebody really likes, but if not,
you can't like shut it off, right? I mean, next we're gonna have tennis players walking into the theme songs like batters in baseball. Like, I don't know.
I actually think that's
that'd be kind of awesome. Actually,
I actually think that's coming.
2-time champion. You see like the pyrotechnics and the strobe lights.
So it's wrestling.
That would bring
now.
more people to it, right?
Yeah. Yes.
That's pretty funny. I like that a lot. I don't know. I mean, I don't watch tennis, and I don't watch tennis because it's boring.
But would you watch it if there was pyrotechnics?
I would go to it if there was booze.
So there's always
boobs.
I would go to it if there was boobs too, but there's not gonna be.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that businesses try to fix a problem, and tennis being boring is a problem.
Tennis is only boring to you.
And most
I love tennis.
And most of America.
Can we find a happy
John, have you ever
balance,
been to a
though,
live
right?
tennis tournament?
Nope, because it's boring.
But hey, can we find a balance though where somebody take John, for instance, would be convinced to go and watch it, right? What would it take? And would that be too much to alienate other? Well, yeah. And would that be too much to alienate like longtime traditional fans?
Yes, I mean, it would. That's the problem. It would. There are people who are pissed, just like there's people who are pissed when it's loud at a golf tournament.
I saw an ad for the Masters this past weekend, and I turned to my wife and I said, the great thing about that is when it's on is it puts you into this like semi-conscious sort of coma where, you're just watching these men wandering around grass with these sticks. And she's like, what about that is appealing? I'm like, I don't know. Just, if you're looking for a quiet weekend, you could do worse than watching this. So I'd be kind of irritated, to your point, Jeff, there were suddenly like luchadors and like,
luchadors.
Yeah, like,
they come in with masks on. I love it.
Approaches the tee, right? Like,
he's got his own posse and theme song going.
And I'll
he's
say
got one of those boxer robes.
Yeah.
And there are some young guys who love playing their fathers, right? And so the idea of like getting stodgy and going to the golf club, there is a little group of guys who are into that. So it's not all young Turks.
I mean, shit, I suck at golf, but I like golf because I like to drink with you assholes. I mean, like...
But playing it is way different than watching it on TV.
True. That's true.
Yeah.
God, I'm so bad at golf.
All right, so real quick, yay or nay? Do we like having the concept of a courtside bar?
I'm in.
At a tennis match. John,
I'm in.
You're in.
I'll see you in Queens.
Why not?
Colin?
Try it. See how it goes.
A white wine bar, sure. A daiquiri club, probably not.
Okay, so it has to be the right kind of bar.
No spinning daiquiri machines.
No spinning daiquiri machines. There were so many daiquiri machines on the cruise. My God.
Yes.
All right, and we're good. Pete, do you have another one in your list?
Yeah, hold on. Oh man, hold on. You broke my arm. There are 215 bones in the human body. That's one. But this is one next topic. That was not as good as the other ones.
It was
sorry.
still very good. I was still very good. I lose my movie card though because I don't remember any of these.
I'm reading them from a list, so it's not like I'm magically calling them up from my brain.
So that we don't
That
get
was
too
anyway.
So we don't get too far away from our AI conversation. In her third State of the State address, New York Governor Kathy Hochul, my boss, proposed a statewide consortium that would bring together public and private resources to put New York at the forefront of the AI landscape. So under the plan, Ms. Hochul would direct $275 million in state funds towards the building of a center to be jointly used by a handful of public and private institutions, including the SUNY and CUNY college systems. And so the reason behind this investment would be to strengthen the state economies for users, help offset the disparity between tech companies and academic institutions in a race to develop AI. And so what's our thought about continued, strengthened state involvement in the development of AI? Do we think it's good to have a multidisciplinary approach to the development of something so important?
250 million?
275 million.
275 million? Still not enough. Just not enough. Like, I applaud her for thinking about how maybe government should have a role in AI. I don't know. Is this going to be with government, or is it more private sector, or is this, she just kind of wants to start this conversation?
It is government, but the way she's selling it, because she's a New York State governor, is she's selling it to get the educational institutions, and specifically the SUNY and CUNY and the SUNY and CUNY programs involved in the research.
So I applaud her for kind of having this conversation and trying to do something with regards to AI, because I think politicians in general have been shying away from AI. Now, granted, your average politician is, 70 years old, and probably don't know anything about AI. They just kind of hear it from their grandkids or something like that.
Yeah.
Kathy's 65, by the way.
Is she that old? Oh my
Nope,
gosh.
65.
But she's making an effort.
Mhm.
There's a lot of states that aren't, and I still say 275 million is not enough. But at least she's making an effort. That's kind of my 2 cents.
Well, and New York State governors, for as long as I can remember, and especially as long as I've been a state employee, really like projects that both look liberal and cause jobs. And so this, just like green energy, is just a big job market, like a big, giant money grab. AI is going to be, and she sees it, and her advisors see it. I think it's great. I am very, very excited.
Yeah. I do like that. I mean, I guess on the side of this, with like, if you can use this as a pro working class kind of movement, then that's I'm all for that.
This 275 million, where is it coming from?
Your tax dollars.
Yeah.
Her big bag of money,
Right, and-
Colin.
and-
her big bag of money that she has
Right,
unlimited
and
access
so-
to, where she built a
and
$2
why-
billion
and-
bridge. It's all the same money. Well, Andy
And
built
what
that
is-
bridge.
like,
10
what is
times
Is
the
it
amount.
$2 million bridge?
$2 billion bridge.
Billion.
That makes more sense.
Yeah.
So I would not trust a bridge
would you
that
drive
costs
on the
$2
$2 million bridge?
Yeah.
No. Anyway, Colin, go
Yeah,
ahead.
so if that's like if that's grants to academic institutions, fantastic. Can't get enough of it. And I'm with Mark, right? More. But what's the private component? Like, are you giving public taxpayer money to,
Probably.
companies?
We
That's
also
true.
Yeah.
Do we have transparency for where this is going exactly?
Mark
Yeah.
Pete, Colin, Mark and I live in upstate New York, where Global Foundries got the keys to Malta. The whole city just belongs to them
Pretty
now.
much.
Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean,
Brought a lot of
Malta's
jobs,
booming.
and then a lot of
It
Germans
did bring a lot of jobs.
Yeah.
that were
A lot
taken
of
by a
Germans.
lot of Germans.
And then they built a lot of buildings with more shops for the Germans
For
to
said-
find places to shop and
for
eat
said
and,
Germans. Yeah.
Yeah.
But kind of to bring this kind of my state, Rhode Island. Yes, Rhode Island's not even talking about this. My governor is I don't even know if he knows how to spell AI. And with regards to bridges, going back to bridges, the state recently has just been caught trying to one of the bridges was like about to collapse. This bridge that was built relatively recently, like within the last 10 years, and there was some structural engineers that told them, it's like, no, you need to kind of do this to shore everything up, and they just went with another engineering firm that was cheaper and just told them something completely different. and now that
Don't.
bridge just got shut down, and only allowed like half the it's normally 4 or 5 lanes wide, and now it's 2 lanes, and it's causing so much traffic going in and out of the city. It's just ridiculous.
If there's one thing you don't shortchange, it's the fucking bridge.
God, my state is notorious for just paying more
no.
for whatever the cheapest option is.
Ugh.
But that's not this topic.
But we did mention a $2 billion bridge in New York, so
Yeah.
Yes.
it's analogous.
But I mean, I guess the question is, and Colin pretty much nailed it on the head, where does the money come from and who gets access?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what money is not getting appropriated to other areas that because of this.
Right.
That's going to be the big Republican debate, right?
And I mean, it's a valid question for sure. I mean, transparency. I feel like both sides of the aisle want full transparency. They want to know where their tax money is going. I mean,
Well, man, I would
that's-
almost-
Like that
should be a
275
right.
million could have probably gone into some teacher salaries.
I'll tell you though,
Yeah.
and this
right.
I
so
think
something else useful.
is a little bit more of a centrist, business-leaning thing that she's doing to stay relevant in the political standpoint. I mean, jobs and money keep politicians in power, generally.
Absolutely.
And I think that she likes being
Sure.
governor. And to be honest, I don't think
As long-
she's doing a bad job. I mean, she got reelected now on her own accord, and
She did.
she just negotiated a big deal with the state labor union, so Colin's happy. And I mean,
Hey, I mean, if you're going to do stuff that props up some businesses, as long as they're, local companies hiring local, keeping things in the state, New York does seem to be pretty good about that. Or at the very least, right, businesses operating within New York and having employees in New York giving incentives tax-wise for those things. If this is kind of along the same vein, and it's whether it's giving grants, like Mark and Colin had said, to people that are potentially workforces in this industry, right? Just if it's pro everyday Joe, right? Right, pro workforce, as well as these businesses.
well, just to
right? That's fine.
continuously
If
plug
it's- right. If it's just a blank check to a CEO of a major corporation that happens to be in New York, then that's bullshit.
I don't think that's
So
what this is.
that-
It doesn't sound like
no,
it's
it
what
doesn't
this
seem
is.
like it. It doesn't sound like it. No.
Not to continuously plug NYSERDA, but that's how NYSERDA handles green energy funds in New York State. We give it to people who are doing projects in New York State, and
Right. But you guys vet those companies. You make sure it's going to the right place. Yeah. Right.
and if people
God, I hope
say
you do.
people say like
Hopefully. Yeah,
don't take money,
that's the
or
idea.
like they take money and they don't build the thing they said we would build, we fine them. I mean, they get fined. So it's pretty, the checks and balances are pretty strong and in place, and we are at time.
Oh,
What?
so segue.
By the way, John, you
ahead.
can edit this out.
I will.
Do you ever watch Bill Maher at all on HBO?
I don't. I know who Bill Maher
He had
is.
Andrew Cuomo. He had Andrew
Yeah, I know the
Cuomo
name.
on the show.
I'm so
and
disappointed in him.
It was a very interesting take, point of view that he had on that show, and it kind of actually made me kind of rethink some things about how everything that went down. I mean,
Oh.
did he kind of deserve what happened? I think so, but maybe not everything.
On our
really
publicly broadcasted
was the truth.
On
We'll
our
see.
publicly broadcasted radio show, he definitely deserved everything that went down. And we can discuss any of those other things.
I said you can edit this
I'm
out.
not editing the YouTube. I will watch it for an hour before I can touch it.
I
Shut
meant
your
the
face. I really like Andrew Cuomo as a politician. I don't necessarily like him as a person anymore. And I think that's a pretty widely distributed thought process. I think he was doing a very good job until he went and fucked it all up.
You didn't have to continue. We can move on.
No, I'm just not saying that he was right at all in his actions. I'm still saying I don't mind him as a politician before he did all those things. Anyway, next topic. Pete,
So-
do you have another one?
Colin, wait. Did Colin have a segue into the next topic?
Well, if state budgets and thinking about that, I was shocked to learn this week that since its inception, sports betting in New York has brought in $2 billion to the state budget. Have you guys heard this stat? It's massive.
Such a good
Enough
segue.
to
That's
build that
actually
bridge.
last, and that is a great segue into the next topic.
There you
That's
go.
a great
you
segue,
go.
Colin.
So here you go.
So going back, sorry, Pete, going back to
okay.
tennis, but also a great segue for what Colin was talking about. It was reported last year that 180
I'm gonna put it
professional
in.
tennis players from over 30 countries were caught participating in a global match fixing ring. This was all started by, I'm going to get this wrong, Grigor Sargin, who was a student in Brussels, Belgium, and who saw a lot of his friends betting on sports. He later found out that professional tennis players don't really make that much money, especially in the lower levels, and apparently are enticed to make a quick buck. According to Kevin Sieff of the Washington Post, betting on tennis is a $50 billion industry.
So I gotta tell you,
Wow.
I didn't think it was worth that much money. Like, even by a factor of 100, I didn't think it was worth that much money.
That's a big industry.
There's a lot of betting. People could probably bet on how long this show goes.
Yeah.
Put your
in
project
addition-
up now.
It's probably
In
an over and
addition-
under. Yeah.
In addition to the scandal, we've seen multiple NFL players get busted, the two biggest colleges in Iowa, and cricket players in India also getting caught cheating. So everyone, why do you think athletes keep getting caught for gambling? How prevalent do we think it is in today's society? And is the overwhelming majority just not getting caught?
Yep. Gambling's fun. I mean, let's just start there. Gambling is
Gambling's
fun.
illegal.
Winning is
Well, it's
It's
fun.
now legal in most states.
Making money
I mean-
that you didn't have before is fun. I mean, I like
Right.
to gamble a lot. And sports gambling on your phone is magical. Just magical.
I still haven't done it. I'm
I
afraid
just-
of what it's
So-
going to do to me.
If your cousin calls you and says this tennis match in Australia at this time, I'm telling you, if you put $100 on it, you're gonna make 500. And like why wouldn't you? And having done it once, God, I mean, it feeds itself from there, right?
Yeah,
mean,
that's right. It's like a drug almost.
We've watched
Yeah.
100.
The rush of
We've
it.
watched 100 movies about boxers diving and about it all being gang controlled. I mean, this shit happens all the time. Horse racing is fixed. Period. Hard stop. I mean, all the time, because when there's money to be made, people are making it.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Yeah.
And so then are you gambling on the event itself or the knowledge of the fix?
Right.
Right? That's
Right.
Depends
that's
on
where
how
the
much
real-
you know.
That's where the
Yeah.
real gamblers are made. Yeah.
There's a term in horse racing. It's called bridge jumping. And to simplify it, even though you guys can tell, what you do is you take a low odds favorite, right? And because the way the horse racing works, when you bet at the lowest odds, you always have to make 10 cents on the dollar. That's the minimum they can give you back. It's 1 to 9, 10 cents on the dollar. And so there are people who will bet low odds horses for tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars. And sometimes, because you can't tell horse racing, and sometimes it's fixed, they lose. And so the joke is you jump off a bridge if you lose that much money. But the idea of horse racing is a version of this. But just like if you are a tennis player and you can make $1,000 by just not winning and you're not that good, then you do that. It's easy. You just lose.
Yeah.
Well, and it's, you know what, they tried to be smart. I did do a little research on this beforehand. They tried to be smart about it. They weren't trying to necessarily dog during the whole match. It might have been just a point here and a point there. So they tried to be a little bit smart about it, but I mean, the thing that happened that made everyone caught is the guy that was the brainchild of this Grigor Sargent was the one that got caught, and he just ratted on everyone. So that's why so many people got involved with it. I didn't read whether or not all 180 tennis players were convicted of anything or anything like that. But it's, I mean, I get it. Tennis is definitely not a big money maker. Even like the ones that are winning the tournaments really, compared to the other sports, especially football, baseball, and basketball, not making as much money as those sports, right? So it's so easy to get caught in this, especially if you think you're not going to get caught. And especially if an overwhelming majority of the people that are doing it are not getting caught. I think we're kind of all aligned on that too, right? Most people are not getting caught doing it.
Yeah, I mean, right.
Imagine
And it's
how
kind of
many
easy to
people-
do, right?
Sure, they're
It's
way-
kind of easy to do. You
Yeah.
have someone else, someone in your posse does it for you.
I was gonna say, right, what is the easiest way to do this? Don't put it in your name. Like, okay, if you're Andre Agassi and you're in a tennis, I mean, yes, he's long retired, but I don't know tennis. But like, say he's like gonna bet on his own game, he's not gonna be like, hey, I'm gonna log in as Andre Agassi and I'm gonna bet on myself for blah 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 blah, or bet on the other guy and then I'm gonna lose.
You
Like,
could
you
do
don't
the
do that.
whole
You,
thing
you
with
get your friend to
Bitcoin.
do it,
You could just launder it with Bitcoin. You'd be invincible.
or that. Yeah, but you don't use
Seriously.
your name on the account. You
Right,
do it through a
yeah.
friend or some contact, right?
Rambo Johnson.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
actually really surprising.
Yeah, exactly.
Roger Federer
I'm
is
gonna use
worth
that name, actually.
$550 million as a net worth. Federer,
Well,
is,
that's mostly through endorsements.
I mean, that's how you have to make
Not,
the money,
not from
right?
his tennis earnings. That's
Right.
not from his
I mean,
tennis
even
And
earnings.
those
Sere-
are also the biggest names.
Even
Oh,
Serena's
maybe
worth
that was the wrong
300
kind
million.
of person, right?
But I
Yeah.
mean, that's what you
Maybe
want to
that was the
know
wrong-
because you're comparative, right?
Yeah.
Comparative salaries to
Yeah,
the guys, the highest paid like sports players in football, right? Soccer
Right.
being the most paid.
But
sport.
what Mark brought up is a lot of these people betting and stuff, right? I bet a lot of these 180 players or however many it was that got caught, they're not the ones earning these hundreds
There's
of millions of
also
dollars in
not a
endorsements.
lot.
And
of
that's what's happening in the NFL too. The NFL,
one-on-one
the players that are
games.
getting caught are the ones not making the
Yeah.
big bucks.
But there's also not
I
a
have
lot
to
of.
think it's.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I have to think it's prevalent in MMA.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
just
yeah.
see how it
Oh,
can be,
sure.
the same position where you're busting your ass all the time for like, a $3,000 purse. You haven't paid your rent in 6 weeks. Hey, this guy's probably going to take you out anyway. Just make sure it's in the second round, and it's gotta be.
And what I was saying is, I mean, there are a limit of events where it is a one-on-one match that is publicly televised, right? Tennis,
yeah.
boxing, MMA. I mean, these are things that are easily fixed because you are a person with free will.
Who had the
Yeah.
prop bet though on Mike Tyson biting Evander Holyfield's ear off in that in their matchup in the 90s?
I bet you someone did.
Cocaine did.
Some crazy sicko bet that.
Bet you someone did.
I
Cocaine
love
did,
those.
Pete.
My purse, like John said, if I have $100 to bet, I put like 60 to 70 of it on the sure thing, and then like the little 30 left over, I spend like $2 here, $5 there, on all the weird little parlays.
Right, the prop bets are the
any
most
one of them
fun.
hits. It's exactly.
Sure.
One high odds
that's
parlays are
where
fun.
That's where windfalls come from.
All right, we're at time, but Colin, what platform does Mark need to sign up for at the end of the show? And I think
Nope.
do it.
Not doing it. Come on.
Platform?
What gambling platform? I mean, he loves to gamble.
Oh.
Mark is a
I
gambler.
guess what do you so Rhode Island has actually a state app, believe it or not.
Nah,
Oh,
fuck
wow.
that shit.
I
Get it
use.
Ooh.
I've heard that. No. I've heard actually that's a pretty good one to do.
Okay.
I use.
I have
DraftKings.
people that use it.
I mean, DraftKings will give you $500 for signing up, right?
Yeah.
I've heard good things about
DraftKings,
DraftKings
When
too.
I
yeah.
first signed up, they gave me a lot of little fun freebies. We did really well. We took, we made money. We pulled it out and ate it, and since then it's been my platform of choice.
Yeah, I like
we
DraftKings
should,
too.
what we should do for next
DraftKings
season.
actually was created in Boston, so that was actually the one I would probably do.
There you go. We should all
Could
do
be a
DraftKings
sponsor.
and put in the same amount of money to start, the same amount of seed money, and see where we all end up at the end of a season.
My point of bringing
How cool would that be?
so New York sports
I kinda
gambling.
like that, actually.
Online sports gambling is $2 billion in New York, and this year they're introducing legislation to make online poker legal. And I
That's
had
fucking
no-
great.
Wow.
Yeah.
big.
Wait, does that $2 billion does that include the state lottery at all? Because I heard you can do the
No.
state lottery, right?
You can. No, this is just from the sports betting alone.
Got it.
So with poker on the tail, right? That's a lot of money coming in. So for things like AI, you're suddenly funding all kinds of stuff.
Although the state lottery is
Waste
technically
money.
supposed to be non-profit, right?
New York will
Right.
legalize anything as long as they can tax it.
The
Absolutely.
sports gambling,
This is
the
very true.
cannabis now,
They just have to
yep,
figure it out. So they were
They
just
want their cut.
we're just a little slow.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Everyone
we're,
wants
we're,
their cut.
we're at time, guys.
We'll get there.
All right.
All right. Does it hurt when you get shot? I sense injuries. The data could be called next topic.
Are these all Terminator ones?
Maybe. I told you there's a list.
That's fucking great, man. Pete, I missed you, man. I really, really missed you. All right, so we're gonna talk about a wacky story that I read. This week, California Governor Gavin Newsom said he would not sign a proposed ban on tackle football for children under 12. And so the proposal from Democratic Assembly member Kevin McCarthy would have phased in gradually through 2029. And so while it doesn't mean it won't become law in California, the proposed ban was a step too far for Newsom. And probably it would be problematic for Newsom to sign something, as he is a potential candidate for president past 2024 and would be courting votes in Middle America and across the country. The goal was to have kids play flag football until the age of 12, which would give athletes only 3 years of playing actual tackle football before entering high school and getting murdered. And so, what do we think about this attempt to legislate youth football, the involvement of government in more everyday life, and the impact of big government on athletics overall?
I mean, government should not get involved with that. I'm sorry. Like I
that
understand
off.
tackle football is very, very dangerous. I'm sorry. That is not something that government should get involved in. That is definitely something that is a choice for the parents.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a bit over. I agree. That's overreaching.
That is overstepping from a government side. And while I kind of applaud Gavin Newsom for that. And there's actually a lot of things I don't really applaud Gavin Newsom on, but that one I kind of do, because again, that's something that government should just not get involved with. That is a personal choice. You can kind of argue certain kind of correlates with something else, which we're not going to get into right now. But just government's just overstepping right now. Yeah, John, you know what I'm getting at for that one.
I just love how you walk the line during the show.
But hey, no, I mean that's good that like you have a governor that, you know, he got the proposal, thought about it, and it was like probably the same thing you're saying. Like, okay, that's too much. Like we're stepping into personal decisions of families and parents. Like, what are we doing? We're supposed to be serving the public, not dictating them.
Actually, all right. I kind of want to steer a little bit.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Colin.
To
Go ahead.
test the edges here. So, I like the thinking. Would you apply the thinking as well to girls tackle football?
Because right now,
Right, it's
grown
the
women.
parents'
You
decision.
should, right? You should, right?
Parents' decision. Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause
Grown women
there
right
are
now
some
do
girls
play
who would
flag
love to
football.
play
There's an emergence. There's
right.
an emergence of women
Yeah.
playing not just flag football, John, tackle football.
There is
And
a
they-
football.
And there
We
are some
covered the
girls that
safety
would
in
probably kick
college on the
shit
show.
out of some of the boys
Yeah.
playing.
Yeah.
That girl who plays
I'll tell you.
starting safety on and I could look it up, but some college teams, she is a impressive person.
No, but there's like full leagues too of girls playing tackle football too.
Check out
That'd be-
girls
I mean-
who do roller derby.
Yeah.
The RPI women's ice hockey team would disassemble a Wendy's in 20 minutes.
Oh my God,
I mean,
yeah.
there are girls who can play tackle football. You know,
Sure.
so-
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. And roller derby, right? There's like leagues in Buffalo too for that, right?
Yeah.
And Riverworks, the
So
bar.
Pete, what
shout out
are-
to
those
women are
Riverworks, not a
vicious.
sponsor.
Mark,
Yeah,
what's
they're
interesting
insane.
about your verbiage and just your response is that I read counter arguments to Newsom's decision that were based on parenting and being able to make the decision to play football but not worry about injury. And I think that Newsom and the laws in general are aware that, you know, tackle football increases the risks of head injury. And they do have a lot of laws in California on the books that if you're going to coach youth tackle football, you do have to take a class on concussions. And so it's like, I agree that government shouldn't be involved in this, but I guess the question is, do we legislate people when they're making decisions that are against their their common good and their safety, or do we let them do these things that are maybe a little dangerous? Like, what is the position of government to keep the public for general public safety, right?
I'm not convinced that tackle football is seriously injuring over half of the kids. I'm not. Like, are there some big injuries associated with tackle football? Yes, of course there is. Are there concussions associated with it? Yes, and all sorts of injuries, especially considering there's all these coaches that are generally going to be parents, especially in the lower levels, that are just, your job is to just take the head off of this other kid. Okay.
Okay. Well, yeah. Those
now
coaches
clearly
are bad
that's
news,
an
yeah.
issue right there.
Yeah.
Because those coaches aren't exactly teaching the best ways to play the game. So that's kind of another thing. But
5% of football players from the ages of 5 to 14 sustain a concussion. I mean, is that too much?
Really?
Wow, so 1 in 20. So every class is going to have one kid get a concussion.
I don't necessarily believe that stat. I really don't. I don't think it's 1 in 20. That's essentially, so in a game you have 11 on 11. So one of those kids is going to get a concussion
In their
Yeah,
football
I don't-
career over
That
9
doesn't
years.
sound-
Oh, well, I mean, I guess over that
Not
much
in a
over
game.
9 years.
Sure.
All right, that's
Ages
different.
That's
5
a
to
long time.
14.
Different.
Right.
Okay.
That's not like per game. I was gonna say, did you guys, any of you play Little League? I played 1 year.
I was going to ask,
Yeah.
did Peter Collin play Pee Wee football? I did not.
I did.
I played
I did
basketball.
not.
I
I
played
did not play
basketball and baseball and lacrosse and volleyball.
I got my knee hurt in a practice, and there was one game where literally a kid broke his arm. I don't know if it was our team or the other team, and the ambulance went in the field. It was all dramatic, but I don't remember. And granted, this was right the late 80s, early 90s. There wasn't the data on head injuries and concussions that there is now, or the awareness of it. So I'm sure a lot of kids got their bell rung and just we didn't know. But as
That's
far as
true.
as far as I remember, there wasn't anything like that.
And I mean,
I mean, our quarterback got hit in the head so hard once his helmet fell off, and broke. He literally sitting there in the game and said his helmet was in pieces, and
Was
the face mask
was
was
it a-
swinging.
Was it a Quaker that hit him?
I don't remember.
My Orchard Park Quaker.
I almost did a spit
Oh,
take.
no. Actually, this was so I played Colin. So I played for the town of Boston. So Hamburg was an enemy of ours.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is Boston, New York. So we had the Boston. Mark would be proud of this. I had the old Boston Patriot logo guy. He was on my helmet.
Nice. Yeah. The
That's
right
really
hand,
funny.
yeah.
Yeah, we had the old ass New England Patriots team colors. And
to take
everything.
this
Based on
home,
that
I think
weird
the final
triangle
question is, this kind of thing getting legalized would really take away actual viable experience for kids for 9 years of tackle
absolutely.
football. I mean, 9 whole,
Yeah.
even more than that, because 9 years. 9 years of tackle football would be just erased. And so you learn the function of football and how to play football, how to throw and how to run and how to catch, but you wouldn't learn how to tackle.
any
And
sport.
tackling is a skill.
Any sport, John. Think about if we couldn't play Little League or basketball until we're 12 years old.
Yeah.
How much we would have sucked.
Yeah, well, like a
okay,
no
yeah.
boxing out version of basketball where you can't touch other players. I mean, it's I don't know.
Right. And who's to say, right? You don't have these leagues. The kids are going to want to play shit. I hope, at least. And I would hope that parents still encourage their kids to go outside and play with other kids. Like, they're going to play their own way, their own rules, and play tackle football in the yard without pads and without structure and without coaching.
Ooh, black market football leagues.
Yeah, I've been in quite a few of those games, and I will say the worst injury that I remember sustaining, I got hit so hard in a pickup game of two-hand touch control football, right, on just with a bunch of randos, that I got hit. I saw a flash of white, black, and the next thing I knew, I was on the ground, and a kid on the other team was running away with the football that I had, that I swore I had a second ago. So, and that was not in a league. That was just in a random pickup game.
Pete,
that we
did you ever
decided to
play?
have.
That was last year.
Yeah, yeah, that was that was against my neighbors.
Pete, did you ever play snow football with us at Behind Tap at RPI?
I did some ultimate frisbee with you guys. I don't know if I got to play football with you.
No, snow football. Different.
Oh, that would have been so much
That's a
fun.
Very different. Very
That's a
different. We
difference.
tackled in the snow.
we did.
I did play.
I have
Yeah,
a real
go
quick
ahead.
question for Pete. If Liam has an interest in playing football, do you think
What a good question.
you as parents will have him play?
I'd have to talk to Steph with that.
Oh,
6.
Only if we were both in complete agreement with it, right? And that would be a long.
You like how I
discussion.
worded that? That question, by the way.
Yeah,
Really
No,
good,
it's-
man.
it's-
Really good. And
It's
we're
a
at
different
time.
perspective, right? When you're talking about yourself, you're like, whatever, hold my beer. But right when it's your kid involved, it is different. So, yeah, no, we'd have to have a long talk about that. It's a dangerous sport, but that's the thing. That's a choice up to the parent and the individual family, as opposed to, a government literally just banning it for 9 years for everybody.
I just had this thought before we move on. I'm sorry, and you can edit this out, John, if you want.
Here we go again.
I actually, I think I remember hearing about a stat. I'm not 100% sure if this is accurate or not. That kids get just as many concussions in soccer that they do in football.
Soccer is also incredibly violent.
I'd argue more ACLs get torn in soccer because we have living proof with a bunch of our friends.
Anyway, Pete? You got next topic?
He totally does. I know he
hold on,
does.
Let me try it from the depths of this.
I know he does. It's not a tumor. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, actually, yeah, that was. Come with me if you want the next topic.
Oh, amazing.
And now we're going to talk about another sport that doesn't make it on this podcast very often, golf. But don't worry, everyone. You'll probably still be able to follow along at home, as it's about the phenomenon known as Tiger Woods. So back in August of 1996, Nike took a gamble and partnered with Tiger as he was about to break into the sport of golf professionally. Sure enough, the gamble paid off as Tiger has become the most recognizable name and face in the Scottish pastime. However, present-day Woods has been a shell of his former self, and Nike has seemingly been trying to sever all ties to golf. So everyone, does it make sense that Tiger Woods and Nike are severing ties after 27 years together?
Wow.
Same argument.
I mean, at the end of
Nobody's
it-
watching golf. It's boring.
Oh,
My
people
dad
are still
still
watching
watches.
golf.
Old
People
people.
are still watching golf.
I don't know. I mean,
My dad's not an
But-
old person. Oh, wait,
but-
shit. he's
But
not.
Tiger Woods isn't winning. Tiger Woods isn't winning tournaments.
now what Tiger should
It's
do.
not the Tiger of old. Yeah.
No.
What Tiger should do, and what I would do if I were him, is Charlie Woods is a very good golf player, and Charlie and Tiger just played a major together, a duo major together, and they did very well. They came in second. Charlie Woods hits the ball a mile. Tiger should say,
Much like his father did.
"Hey Nike, look at my handsome son who's good at golf. Let's get that going," right? And just push Charlie right into the spotlight. I mean, they're already famous. Charlie already wants to play golf. It's not bad parenting. He already has been playing golf his whole life. And just kind of mentor his son, because you're right. Nobody wants to see an old guy who doesn't win anymore, but maybe they want to see the son of a famous legend start winning.
Sure.
Tiger's
reminds
doing
me of-
a lot of things that his father Earl was doing to him, getting him involved in golf really early. I believe his teaching method is going to be a little bit different because Earl was a little bit more sergeant or drill sergeant like, and I think Tiger has been. If this is something you want to do, then you should do it, and I will support you with it. I believe that's what Tiger's stance has been with Charlie this whole time. But you're absolutely right. Charlie has got the makings of a very good golf player. However, I mean, if Nike wants to sever their ties with Tiger now, that probably means that Charlie's not going to get a Nike deal either. And now Tiger is supposedly talking with other companies. I believe TaylorMade has kind of been the front runner with regards to some of the stuff that he's been doing. He's wearing FootJoy, so he's already got a deal with Titleist with regards to their balls. And FootJoy is owned by Titleist as well,
And
Balls.
those are the best balls in the world.
aren't they?
Balls.
So whatever Tiger does, I wouldn't be surprised if that's what Charlie does as well.
Makes sense. It does feel like the end of an era, though, doesn't it? Tiger and Nike was synonymous for our entire teenage
Nike had
years, right? Or early adulthood.
Nike had zero. I can't think of the word. They just weren't involved with golf at all. And then Tiger Woods came and like, we want to get involved with golf, so they went all in with Tiger, and it paid off for them. But now they're kind of
hugely.
leaning back. And there's a couple of like Jason Day. Also another big golfer. I'm sure none of you guys have heard of him, but he's backed out of his Nike deal a lot because of Tiger as well. And Rory McIlroy has a deal with Nike as well, and he's considering backing out as well.
So are Nike starting to like ramp down their products too? Because
So they used to
made golf balls for a while, the
manufacture
bags,
golf
all that
balls
stuff.
and clubs. They don't do that anymore. So it's really just the apparel.
So I think
It's like
that's
the clothes.
more of the writing. The writing on the walls is that Nike doesn't want to be in the golf game anymore. And
Well, they still have deals with some golfers, and
And on
Brooks
top-
Koepka is one of them.
on top of that,
But
I
he's a big name.
don't necessarily believe that Tiger Woods will ever have trouble finding sponsorship. His name is Tiger
I don't
Woods.
think so either. No, someone else
No.
is just going to hop on that money wagon.
And like you said, right, it'll transition from him being a player to maybe a senior player. But I mean, that kind of reminds me of like Jack Nicklaus making this transition when we were kids, right? Like kicking and screaming into the golden retirement league, basically.
Nike's first golden goose was Michael Jordan, right?
Yeah.
And if you ever watch the movie Air, you can see how all that kind of came down.
Yep.
Michael Jordan is still affiliated with Nike to this day. You could argue Tiger Woods is on the same level as Michael Jordan with regards to the sport of golf. Everyone everyone wants to, whenever they're going to a golf tournament, they want to see Tiger. Whenever they're watching golf on TV, I know none of you do, but whenever anyone watches golf on TV, they want to see Tiger Woods. All of the TV coverage is pointing at Tiger Woods, regardless of whether or not he's in contention.
Yeah, but
I was going to say, most of the time he's not even that high up in the tournament.
Yeah, but if we think about, and the movie Air, if we think about Michael Jordan obviously made a very similar impact as Tiger Woods did in the games that they both played. But I think that one of the reasons that Michael Jordan is still relevant is because Jordans are still relevant. Air Jordans are a thing, and they became a cultural phenomenon when Jordan was playing. I mean, there's not like a Tiger hat or a Tiger shoe or like there
is.
But like they didn't market it the same way. It's not the same. It's not the same product.
Yeah, you're probably right about that. Because more people definitely follow the NBA than the PGA Tour. However, people still want to wear what Tiger's wearing on Sunday. Like Tiger has he wears a red shirt and black pants every single Sunday. That's what he wears, and people want to buy those outfits as soon as they see him wearing it to this day. So personally, I think it's a mistake that Nike doesn't want to play ball with Tiger Woods anymore.
He doesn't want to major in 4 years, Mark.
He's like Michael Jordan hasn't won a championship in a while.
And he's also
played a while.
He also is retired for 20.
But he's still a big name. Tiger Woods is still arguably the biggest name in golf.
You're not going to sell
It's
me,
still
man.
Yeah, it's still a brand that you could use, but I mean, you'd argue golf was never as flashy as the NBA though. So maybe it's different sports, different.
Tiger brought a lot of people to golf that never ever thought that they would
that's
play
true.
ever.
Yeah.
This is a pretty sweet video game that Mark and I were obsessed with for a couple of years.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. I wonder if if Tiger is still the name of the EA Sports golf game.
Tiger Vision.
We have to look that up.
I'm sorry my brain works this way, but speaking of promoting relics of the past, have you heard about this unauthorized biopic of Richard Simmons where he's going to be played by Pauly Shore?
I just read about that today.
I did hear about that.
Wild.
Yeah.
Pauly Shore, too.
Good for Pauly Shore. Pauly Shore.
Yeah. And apparently Richard Simmons is pretty butthurt about it.
I think I have the same birthday as Pauly Shore.
It's exciting.
I definitely have the same birthday as Richard Simmons.
Hey, Mark.
Interesting.
What time is it?
Gotta work on it.
It's the final topic.
Don't judge us, Colin.
Yeah, Con, I used to try to stop them, but now I give
We
up.
have to do it again now, John. We have to do it again.
No. It's too much time. Too much.
I had more Terminator ones too.
It's okay. You can
That's
save
okay.
them. For next week, they were all wonderful, and I love them.
I will.
Hi, Liam.
Oh, I'm sorry, Liam.
Liam's singing along with the final topic.
Mark, that's really great, buddy. That's really great. All right, so it's been a while since we've come up with a Marvel topic, and I had to bring it up.
It has been a while.
This past weekend, I ripped through the MCU's new show, Echo, being only 5 episodes long. This is the first show under the Marvel Spotlight banner, and it focuses on the Kingpin's niece, Maya, and her life after the events of 2021's Hawkeye. Marvel Spotlight is a little bit of a dying breath, but it's Marvel's attempt to showcase individual projects that is, all characterized by their grounded and character-driven approach. That is marketing material, but whatever. The show itself was great, but the more interesting part and the news this week is how the actress who played Echo, Alaqua Cox, was born deaf in a Native American tribe in Wisconsin and is an amputee, just like Echo. So what do you think about Marvel Spotlight? Echo itself, if you guys have watched it, and an attempt by Marvel to stop telling the same old story. Also, how important is representation and diversity in fiction?
I actually did. I streamed it all last weekend as well. Saw all 5 episodes in one sitting.
Oh my god, the show is so fucking good.
The show, I wouldn't say it's really good, but it was good.
It was
good.
It wasn't Game of Thrones. It wasn't top television. It's not going to win. It's not going to win an Emmy, but is comparatively, it is a good product, and they finally put out a good product.
And I see why they did put it out as a limited series versus a movie. Because it doesn't really grab your attention immediately like a movie would, especially a Marvel movie. There was a lot of character building within it as well, and I mean, Vincent D'Onofrio as the Kingpin, man, he did pretty good. I had thought, and that whole complicated relationship between Echo and Kingpin, I thought was a great angle.
Well,
Wow, I've got to see this.
Did you guys watch the Marvel Daredevil shows?
I did.
So they
And
spent
I'm
a
very
lot.
excited. There's more coming apparently.
Yeah,
I worked on them.
So they spent a lot of time in the Marvel Daredevil shows explaining the Kingpin. And
This is not the one on the CW, or is it one of those?
No, there were
this
none
is
on the
Netflix.
CW. This was Netflix.
Okay.
There was a whole Netflix
alright. That's why I
Marvel
haven't seen it.
universe.
That's why I haven't seen it.
They're
But-
excellent.
To shorten it, they explained kind of why Kingpin was the way he was, and a lot of it has to do with anger, a little bit of trauma, a lot of like internal anxiety, and so the show
possibly even mental health things.
Mental
too, right?
health,
Like he had some serious but ridiculous strength. Yeah, I loved.
Go ahead.
I just say those are some of the first things when I got into the VFX industry for realsies. Like it was very lucky to work on Daredevil from that and Jessica Jones. They were so much fun to work on, and those were such good shows.
They did a lot. If you watch the
two.
show, they did a lot of really cool single camera action again, because they remembered that people like that shit. They like cool action sequences.
And all the effects we did was all getting rid of stunt wires and practical stuff, right? Like they did so much in camera.
So in
that
Echo,
was really impressive.
Lachlan Cox, actually deaf, actually an amputee. In Echo, they spent a lot of time trying to, first, all the actors learned ASL, which was super cool.
That's great.
Isn't that great?
That's
and they
great.
spent a lot of time. She did the whole talk show circuit this week. They spent a lot of time developing things so that she knew when they were done. So there were vibrational devices, so that she could be like acting, but also know when it's time for her to start signing. And I bring it up in the question because I think it's important. They asked her in the circuit this week, how important would it have been for her as a young person, a young Native American, a young person with a disability, to see herself, like to see someone that looked like her on television who had strength. And she just, obviously so important, so incredibly empowering.
Yeah.
And I've said this before, but like, I think that's what comics and superheroes are about. Just like giving a voice and power to kind of like a downtrodden person of society. Like it used to just be nerds, right? Because it used to not be cool to be a nerd. But I think Marvel's really trying to do it with people with serious actual disabilities who are contributing like actual
Marvel's
members
been
of
doing-
society.
Oh yeah.
Marvel's been trying to do a very good job of
Yeah.
doing some kind of representation.
And this is nothing new with the MCU. This is Marvel's shtick since the 60s.
Since the 60s.
Yeah,
Since the
absolutely.
beginning. You know, wow, Peter Parker's such a nerd, but what if he was strong?
Yeah. Right. The X-Men is all about diversity and representation and inclusion of outsiders, right?
And one thing that I'm always going to remember this quote by Stan Lee, that why Peter Parker or why Spider-Man wore a mask and he could be anyone.
Yep.
Like how
So cool.
how forward thinking was Stan Lee in
Yeah.
doing that, and now we have Into the Spider-Verse and all that, right? So
Yeah. Super cool shit.
Yes.
I did enjoy that series. I saw. I mean, I could definitely see why it wouldn't have been a very good movie. I shouldn't say that. It wouldn't have drawn a lot of crowds, I think, into the theaters as a movie.
There are a number of people who are a little pissed that it feels like just a launch point into Daredevil, which it kind of is, honestly.
Well, it kind
Is
of
that
is.
a problem though? Daredevil's so cool.
Well, Daredevil Born Again,
in some
right?
respects,
Yeah.
in some respects, though, why do we like Marvel movies in a lot? Because of the character development, right?
Sure.
This is now we did see her in part of Hawkeye, that limited series with Hawkeye, but we didn't really know an awful lot about her. And I love the fact that they did kind of do flashbacks to Hawkeye, especially in the first episode.
Well, they explained the missing parts that you didn't know. Where was she when these things were happening? Which I think was necessary. And also, they have to make these shows so that you don't have to watch the previous shows.
Yeah.
So that's what they tried to do.
Yeah. So someone who hasn't seen the previous shows, I have not seen Hawkeye yet. Do I need to see that before I see this?
No, they explain it.
No.
Okay.
The first
I think
episode
it might help.
The first episode is essentially previously, and then Hawkeye itself explains that
You should still watch Hawkeye.
Hawkeye was
it's on my list.
Hawkeye was awesome.
As John knows,
you have to know about Josh
Yes.
Allen's girlfriend, so you have to watch
That's right.
Because
As John knows too, right now I'm going through WandaVision finally, like 3 or 4 years later. So good.
Yeah.
I'm going through that right now. I'm about maybe halfway to 2/3 of the way through that. And then I'm going to do Hawkeye next. And
Hawkeye was
Steph and I
very-
will get to Loki season 2 eventually too.
Hawkeye was really fun, like really, really fun. I think what's the MCU has a problem. Okay, so we have finally fired Kang. What's his face?
Oh, that's official?
Yeah, he got
Yeah.
fired.
He's
Oh,
gone.
I did not hear that.
Oh, yeah,
Jonathan
Jonathan
Majors.
Majors. Well, Jonathan Majors got convicted of domestic abuse and all the things he was charged with. And
Oh, I did not hear that either.
Disney fired him that day.
Breaking news.
Not really. This was like a month ago. But Disney fired him that day.
Wasn't?
Yeah, it really was. It really was like a month
The trial
ago.
was like very recent, wasn't it?
Nope. It was a while. It was,
All right,
and
never
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Edit this out. Edit this out.
So they are kind of trying to pivot a little bit. And honestly, and I've been saying it, Kingpin would make a great big bad.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and they could easily with Kang the Conqueror too. Just they have a way to explain why he looks different, right?
Yeah, but they
Yeah.
not to give away too much of Loki season 2, which was very good by the way, Pete, but they really wrapped up a lot of things in Loki season 2.
Okay. Yeah, it's on our list. That's one that Steph wants to watch too because she's a huge fan of the Thor and Loki universe.
tight,
so
neat
we're
little
gonna watch
bow.
that one together.
So I don't know if they need it, honestly. I didn't really, and I am a fanboy for sure. But I
Really?
yeah, check it out. I didn't really like the storyline very much, and I don't think anybody did either. Anyway, I think we're there.
I think we're done.
I think we're done.
Johnny, ready?
No. But I will.
Cue you.
No, it's
I will
okay.
cue you when to start the music.
Ah, shit. All right, there we go. All right. Go.
So that has been our 8 topics. We would like to thank our guests for joining us this week. Thank you, Colin.
Thanks, Colin.
Please subscribe to us by tickling that little bell or follow or like us on our socials at If These Balls Pod on X, Instagram, Facebook, Threads, and TikTok.
You said
Our
you'd cue
website
me.
is
I did. I did that.
I wasn't looking.
Our website is www.iftheseballscouldstalkpod.com. This is Mark Pesci, and for my partner John Campagna, who's new to this, and producer Pete Steffen, that's what we feel they would say if these balls could talk.
It's perfect.
Good night, everyone.
We'll be back. Turn the mics off.